I see you doing big things, doing big things, doing big things. I see you doing big things, doing big things, doing big things. I see you. Welcome to Positive Filter with your host, Philip Wilkerson, a podcast that focuses on friends, family, health, and career with a little self-help around the way. Please join me in this journey for self-improvement, and I hope that what I have to share will make you a better person, thus making the world a better place. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's Philip Wilkerson, a.k.a. the Prince of Positivity, a.k.a. Ill Phil, a.k.a. your boy, a.k.a. I got Austin, Texas tattooed on my leg. And I'm back with another episode of Positive Filter. Now, I am joined by a very special guest. She's probably nervous, so I'm going to do all the AKAs for her. I'm joined by Dorothy Hayden, a.k.a. the Twitter Queen, a.k.a. if you need help with professional development, ask your girl, a.k.a. she knows everything about STEM and technology. And so every guest of this podcast is special, especially to me, but I'm going to do her intro for her. Now, I met Dorothy online in the Twitterverse. I don't know, just asking questions about professional development. And quite honestly, I didn't even know there was a space in Twitter for serious conversations about careers and stuff. I thought you just go on Twitter to troll people and talk about Cardi B. And so Dorothy, reached back to me, not reached out, and just told me about all the professional development that you could do, particularly on Twitter and Twitter chats to get them a part of, and conversations to jump in. And I didn't know that Twitter chats was a thing. And from there, we developed, I wouldn't even say a professional relationship, but also a real authentic friendship. And then coincidentally, lo and behold, I know months later or whatever, she joined our team, the winning team, at my university that I work at. I usually try to stay, what they call it, boundaries, and not tell you where I work, but if you Google me, you'll know where I work. But I asked Dorothy to join us on this episode to talk about professional development because honestly, I didn't really know, not say I didn't know it was a thing, but I didn't get involved, and it was because of Dorothy's influence and guidance that I did. But before we go on to all this talking about professional development, Dorothy, welcome to the podcast first. Tell the listeners a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you, Phil. So I have been in career services since 2013. I've been in higher ed since 2010. So it's just been wonderful working with you recently since March, and I'm really excited to be here. I'm a long-time listener. Long time as in since I probably sent you a link to my podcast. like I don't know, that's probably in my first conversation. I was like, hey, what's up, professional development? I got a podcast, and I sent you the link. So Dorothy, given that you said your career trajectory, and just tell the listeners, you're obviously in career counseling, but bring us back to, you don't have to go all the way to high school or nothing, but tell us your experience and education within this career option. So mainly like, how did you figure out you wanted to do career counseling or career development? Sure. Well, I was in college during the recession in 2008 and really transformed my thinking. I thought maybe I'll go into human resources, and it really turned my focus towards higher education. From there, I went on to my master's degree, and that brought me to Virginia because I did a national job search. So
now you say, let's fill in the listeners. You got your degree, let's say the master's degree. Where did you get your master's in?
I got my master's in higher education from the University of Arizona.
And then did you have to do an internship during that master's?
Well, see, that's the thing. I kind of hustled through that experience. So I had a graduate assistantship at the SALT Center, which is the Strategic Alternative Learning Techniques Center. So it's a center for students with learning and attention challenges.
Oh, it's kind of like learning services where I was at learning services at Mason. So we did special techniques, time management, all that stuff. It's similar, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Right.
So I started there, and they didn't say I couldn't have another internship.
Okay.
So I went over and talked to the assessment office in our housing, and they were like, yeah, we'd love to have you. So I did some work with SPSS.
What's SPSS stand for? Is it the housing place?
No, SPSS is a statistics software.
Oh, Lord, that sounds so not fun.
Well, see, so that's what was really interesting
Okay.
is I think throughout all of my learning, I've been looking for free things because I have not had, a very privileged background. I came from a very low SES family, was trio, first generation. So, chance.
So you sought out. When you say any chance, you sought out actual opportunities on the campus to get involved.
Yes.
And so you did two different things. You did learning. You did the stat software. What brought you to the in the realm of higher ed? So you know the whole system of colleges. But what brought you specifically to career centers?
Well, I was really fortunate in, so I did my national job search. I ended up in learning services at Virginia Military Institute.
Okay.
And I was there for a year, and during that time, someone who was a very dear mentor to me, Sam Ratcliffe, he was on my search committee, and a position came up in his office.
Oh, okay.
And so I actually moved offices from downstairs to the second floor and started working in career services.
Nice. So he was a part of that other one, but he's kind of was very impressed. I mean, duh, of course he was impressed. He was impressed by you, and he's like, hey, this is a different office within student affairs. Would you be interested in? And you applied, and the rest is history. What was the transition like? So you did all these different offices and different niches in higher ed. What was the transition like going from a learning services and more that was in your background from your master's program to more career development?
Sure. It was like drinking from a fire hose because
Oh, Lord, fire hose. Okay.
Yeah, because Sam, he had just been named NACE president. So NACE is the National Association of Colleges and Employers.
And we're going to talk about level. We're going to talk about levels, but he leveled up. He was at the big level. Okay.
So he was the president of the
Lord.
National Association.
All right.
And was on all these committees, and here I am. I'm brand new.
Okay.
So we really worked well together because his philosophy was, you in order to, find your niche, you got to do the work. And so I read probably about 40 books over my first summer in his office.
Okay, hold on. Let's take a pause. Was this self-assignment 40 books, or he gave you 40 books?
So he just kept giving me books.
Oh my goodness.
Because I kept asking for them. So we kind of have that same sort of, learning style where we just want to keep learning and getting things figured out.
Jesus Christ.
And I continued that. I can't
even read one book. Shout out to podcasts. You know what I'm saying? I'm an audio learner. So you were reading 40 books. Well, over the time you read 40 books. Mm-hmm. And that was helping you understand what was going on. What was some of the topics of the books?
They ranged. So I read about different learning theories, different career development theories. I was reading about leadership, statistics, and assessment in an office. So we were a professional staff of 2.
Who was the 2? You and Sam?
It was Sam and me, yeah.
Jesus. For the whole, given the background, I know. So, the listeners don't know. The Virginia Military Institute is a small school. Me and Dorothy, I don't know, the stars are aligned. We have such connections. My father, he was one of the first 4 African Americans to go to VMI. My father also knew Sam, so our lives were collided before we even worked together in this Twitterverse.
Yeah, because your dad was 73?
Class 72.
72, and Sam was 74.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that for the listeners that know what VMI is like, it's a small military institute, but it's state, so it's not like you have to do a service afterwards. But I'm trying to give the listeners a little bit of a viewpoint, is that you two were probably servicing, what was the overall number of students there?
Around 1,700.
1,700. So it's still a small school, but a staff of 2, that's still a lot.
and I say a staff of 2 at this time, you had to be a generalist because these students studied all kinds of different things.
Yes.
So I just wanted to give the listeners that viewpoint that it was 2 people in an office with all the different majors and internships and things that students want to do. So you had to have a knowledge of all the different things rather than a niche. So yeah, I mean, I didn't want to cut off your story, but go back. It was just you and Sam reading 40 books. Was a book stack real high like Harry Potter or something like that, man?
No. Well, and that was the thing.
Big library?
So I could just keep asking, and he had bookcases. So,
okay. Did he read all these books too?
Oh yeah, he'd read all of them.
I was about to say, this dude telling you to read all these books, and he didn't read the books, but he
practiced what he preached.
He practiced, and also, I mean, he's the man, so he knew what he's talking about. He probably didn't even need to read a book. So, did he make you read a book that he wrote himself?
There was a chapter in one of the books.
You stunning. I'm gonna do that one day. I'm gonna hopefully someday write something and make it an assignment. You remember when see, I do a lot of tangents. But remember, when the college professor tries to finesse on you and says, makes an assigned reading as a book, and then you look and it's like the book they wrote?
Yeah.
I think that's one of the funniest things ever.
Oh, yeah.
So you and Sam.
Goals.
I'm gonna go, yeah, that is goals, hashtag. So I'm hopefully not gonna derail you too much, but you and Sam were doing all this knowledge, and he was catching you up to speed on career development, which is very helpful. And you were reading all the books, and then you were also concurrently probably getting hands-on experience meeting with the students from different majors and learning on the go, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I was meeting with students within the second week that I was in the office.
Oh, my goodness.
So it wasn't a big wait on meeting with them. And the thing about VMI is that it's a very straightforward, you can't, there's no, I'm going to kind of tell you this and it may not be accurate. What you say needs to be accurate because of the honor code, which is that you will not lie, cheat, or steal, nor tolerate those who do. So credibility at VMI is really everything when you're working with students. Top
notch. And I remember we did a Zoom call. I mean, it was part of the culture. Like they even had the staff wearing uniforms. So it was like it's that culture. It's very serious and it's down to business. So let's jump in, and because we're going to talk, the main thing is about professional development. So Sam's got you reading all these books. He's gotten you your feet in the ground. He's got you learning and meeting with students. How did he throw you in to professional associations? And you said he was already, which is a great lead-in, he was already a president of a national one. So how do he bring you into that world?
Oh, well, one of the things that he started with is that I had the memberships.
Okay.
And he told me to go look and see what that meant. So I had to go in, I had to figure out what was going on with these different things that the acronyms really meant nothing to me. I just knew it was kind of a big deal.
Okay. You knew it was a big deal that said the word president's a big deal anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Unless it's like president of your local HOH or something. It's like my neighborhood. Ain't nobody care about that. But it was when you see the word president and say national something, that's a big deal. So you were reading the different ones. What memberships did he automatically give you access to?
So I was automatically in the Virginia Association of Colleges and Employers and the National Association of Colleges and Employers.
So the 2 ones. Okay. 1-2. Okay, 1-2 punch. All right, so you had you reading the websites. And what did he say? Like, did he say, read the websites, I want you to come back and tell me which one you can join? Or, I mean, you already joined, but which one that you would want to get involved with? Or he started saying, I got you on a committee. And you're like, what? Like, how did that come about?
Well, he said nothing really.
Okay.
He let me figure that out. So I went to a conference in 2014. So this was, still in my first year. I went to VASE.
Okay.
And I came back to him and I said, I want to be on the technology committee.
Oh, so okay.
So
right.
Because he wasn't someone that was big into,
I know, because I've had mentors, and there's a cutoff. I've had mentors that did the sink or swim method, which has really been helpful, where they like, Phil, I signed you up for this, and you're like, what? And then, because they saw maybe a talent in you, and they just like want to expose you, or they have other ones where they're like, come to me when you have questions. You know what I'm saying? Like more of a sit back mentor where they're like, I'm not going to sign people up for stuff they don't want to do or don't know what they want to do. But if they ever come to me, then I'll lend my expertise.
Sure. And I think it's more for him, it was like, I'm not going to sort of lead you on a path, but I'll be here to support you. And so any time I had questions, he was there. But he wasn't going to be one to be like, oh, well, this is Dorothy. Dorothy should be on your committee. Gotcha.
That makes sense. So what made you, when you went to this first conference, and this is good for a lot of new people when they go to conferences, for certain people, that's a lot of anxiety, a new environment. How did you get out of your comfort zone and say, I'm going to the conference? And then how did you even leave that conference coming back saying, I want to become a member of a certain committee?
Well, it was interesting because I was very separate from Sam during the conference. So during conferences, we might have gone together, but we wouldn't see each other but maybe once during the conference. We'd see each other from a far wave, and that would be it.
Yes.
So his philosophy was, go meet with people. So at every meeting, so if we go to lunch, we go to, a different workshop, I sit by somebody I don't know, I introduce myself.
Yes.
So I like to think of the square. So the person in front of me, if there's someone in front of me and back of me, left and right, I make sure to introduce myself to all of them. So there's not really any being shy. But I'm you know me. I'm pretty quiet most of the time. But so it was really intentional for me to reach out.
That's why I was saying that. I don't need a square. I come up in there, I'm just like, it's your boy, it's the room. I don't think everyone needs a square, but I think that's a great technique. So you did that purposefully. I think that's amazing. I think that's a great tip for the introverts out there. So when you did the square, what made you attracted to that particular committee? And then also, what made you say, okay, I can contribute to this, or I can help out?
Well, I was talking to one of the people, Laura Craig, and she was the director of technology at the time, and she was telling me that there were these Twitter chats that were going on, and I thought, well, I want to learn something about that. I had Twitter, but I hadn't done anything with it.
Yeah.
Well, the next thing I knew, for that committee, I was in charge of the Twitter account for Vase.
Gotcha. And so, I did the introduction. You're a Twitter queen. But I think that's what start with when you started thinking about it in a professional realm, right? So being the Twitter queen that you are now, but let's go back to the beginning, because now I know that we're doing the origin story. So you had the Twitter account for an organization. With the books, how'd you get caught up to speed on how to, be the face of an organization with their social media?
You just do a lot of reading. You do a lot of talking to people. So I was reaching out to different professional organizations, talking with people who run those social media accounts, because I didn't know anything about anything. But just by the fact that I was interested and I was motivated, they were willing to let someone without any experience take on.
True. They probably, I think a lot of people think that you need to have an expertise before you start, but I think behind the scenes, some people just need bodies to volunteer, right? So you're thinking you're putting this volunteer position on a pedestal on the back end. They're like, you want to do it? Sure. Okay, go for it, because they just need someone to fill a spot. And I mean, that's not a bad thing. I'm just saying, you don't sell your shirt short. If you really want to give yourself to learning something or skills, someone's gonna find a lane for you, because most times with volunteerism or volunteers, they need you more than you think, because they need to fill positions and stuff. And it's they're not paying people, so it's they're not gonna be super picky. If it's not in your wheelhouse, they'll say, okay, well, maybe not this particular committee, but would you be interested in such and such? And they'll try to find you. They'll find a way for you to get involved if you want to. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. There are always opportunities to volunteer.
Yeah, you can slide and just do some things. So that is where. I mean, that was a great story. Now I got more of a knowledge. I thought you, from when I met you, you had all this Twitter stuff. You knew all this knowledge. It's good for me to know that someone's got to start somewhere, especially social media or any committees, all this stuff. You really help multiple people in our office, because I think that we're not very aware of how to get involved. We see titles and associations, and it could be intimidating for a lot of people. And they're like, I don't know where to start. How do I start? So what would be some tips? And I remember you talked to our all-staff meeting about some tips. about how to get involved. What was some tips that you can give to the listeners, regardless of what professional, whether they want to be in the National Doctor Association or Flat Earthers Association? I just made that up. There's probably a Flat Earth. I mean, no shade, but the world's round. Sorry. But there's so many associations and clubs. I'm a member of Alpha Phi Alpha. I was going to drop that. You knew I was. And there's committees and stuff like that all the time. What are some ways that you would help someone that never knew about committees? How do you get involved?
I would say to start with what you're interested in.
Okay.
Where you headed to, and use that volunteering to help you to develop your skills.
Okay. So so first of all, you need to probably have some self-assessment on what you're good at.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm good at social media, or I'm good at talking to people, I'm good at spreadsheets, whatever.
Well, and see, strengths does go into it. So
Yes.
if you know that, I knew I didn't want to be, up in front of everyone talking.
Yes.
So technology was great because all of it was behind the scenes.
Yes.
They didn't see that Dorothy Hayden was saying something. They saw that Vase was saying something.
Yes, I like that. So you're attracted to the technology piece. So one is obviously, as we practice what we preach within career services, is know your strengths, right? But then how about beyond knowing your strengths, how did you figure out, like you just said, I like technology. How did you find out what positions matched your strengths, especially as a newcomer?
I'd say I really had to kind of go around to a couple of different things. I had to explore it. There are things that I was more successful at than others.
Okay.
And a part of that was also getting to know how other people worked. So in all of the positions that I've had, I've always been a collaborator. So I haven't been working in isolation.
Yeah, and I think you said a good one. Like, which you said some worked and some didn't. What was one thing that you was, I think even things that didn't work so well, their growth opportunities. What's one that didn't work so well, committee-wise, and what lesson did you learn from that?
Well, I'd say that in one of the committees I was involved in, the committee, we found out was being dissolved.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't going to exist anymore. Wasn't really sure how do you really inform members. We had about 30 members who were on our committee.
Okay.
And it was a very large committee. So to be able to give that information out, being able to do that diplomatically, I think that we did okay. But in retrospect, I would have wanted to, especially for our most active members, have one-on-one conversations offline off of that conversation. Because we came into a conference call and we had to give the news of, this committee isn't going to exist as of July 1.
And people were bummed about that, I bet.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe more than bummed. You're saying more like they're angry or something.
Yeah.
So you had to obviously learn about the politics of it too, and maybe that the not the business because it's not getting paid, but there is systems and dynamics of committees too, and you learn that because it's like people, when you get people to collaborate and work styles, work values, all that comes into play. And then maybe I think additionally for a lot of the listeners, a lot of this committee stuff is over distance. So that's probably an extra challenge, right? Like, I love to work with people, like, surprise, surprise. But I love to work with people face-to-face. That's why this podcast face-to-face, right?
Yes.
So I'm learning a lot about, like, you have to make sure that you're on matching schedules with people that are, like, far away and use technology to get on calls and all kinds of stuff. So I think that's probably what you were saying, too. Like, for something that serious, you'd rather have more personal interaction with that case.
And figuring out how to really supervise. I think that's one of the things that might be overlooked in higher ed is they see, oh, well, you haven't supervised professional staff, but I've had
teams. Yeah.
I've had subcommittees that have been chaired by people who are more senior to me, and let them know when they weren't doing a good job and been able to do so while keeping them engaged.
Right.
So it's one of those challenges. You may not have the supervisory experience that's paid, but you've had the experience that's unpaid.
Yeah, and you stunt and put that on your resume because you have technically supervisory experience in a different realm. Or like if you go to an interview, you can use those examples in your interview when they say,
do you have X, Y, and Z experiences you can pull from those experiences in the professional development world and use that as real concrete experiences for your job interview.
Exactly.
You think so? Yeah. That's crazy. That's crazy. So I was thinking, like, you know, I had like a thing in my head, a thought. I have a lot of thoughts that pop in and pop out, you know. But the one that I really thought of, and I think this is a suggestion that you gave to the staff that we work with, is that literally it's funny about this stuff is practice what we preach, is like you were saying, like, if you're interested in a role, do like an informational interview, meaning like reach out to the person that currently has that role and ask them, what do you do in it before you join on, right? So that you know what you're getting into. One, give us an example of when you did that for yourself, like when you were going into a new role, you asked the outgoing person what they did, or just some feedback on that or that aspect.
I would say, you know, I've used informational interviews a lot because you just don't know until you're in a position. And like I said, being first generation,
yes,
there are things that are so foreign in the higher ed space that, you know, I have trouble still explaining to my family.
Yeah.
So,
what you do? You work at that school, right?
Yeah.
Well,
and especially when it was the military school.
Yeah.
So now that it's
it has
George
nothing.
Mason.
I'm about to say sometimes it has nothing to do with SES. Like I literally have 2 educated parents, and my parents probably don't know what I do. They're like, you work with them kids, right? I'm like, yeah, like, you know, help them get housing. I was like, I don't work in housing. You know about financial aid, right? I was like, what? Like, so I understand that, but add to that, like, you're learning everything for the first time. So I think I agree with you, right? Like when I don't know something, it's easy for me to act. Like what I do is I say, okay, who's doing something that either I want to do or has done what I want to do? They probably could just tell me how they did it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was like, mind blown.
So I'd say pretty much every committee that I've been on, I've done an informational interview.
Yes.
And when I did my job search recently, one of the things that I did was I went and talked to, I think, 4 or 5 people in our office just to see, you know, what's the environment like.
Yes.
Because, I mean, I loved the work that I did at VMI, but I also want to make sure that, you know, the places I'm applying.
There's other values involved.
Because you can say, like, oh, we're into diversity inclusion. Oh, but are you really into diversity inclusion, or is that just something that you like to put on your website?
Yes. I agree with you. I told people that, too, about the informational interviews, too, is that it's an opportunity to ask questions that are more aligned with your values than straight how much money or whatever. So you'll say, like, you know, what's a typical day like, or, you know, are people nice to you? Like, you know, like normal questions. But I think in general for the committee part, too, it'd be like, I think you encourage staff members. So, like, I've been, because of Dorothy, shout out always, is that I've been like, say, okay, I could do this. I could do this committee stuff. I mean, I never thought I could, but I think I can. But I think what I would do is now you told me, okay, here's the person I need to go talk to. And I just ask them questions like, what do you do? How much time commitment is this? You know, because I don't want to go into, I'm the type of person, I want to go in any situation with no knowledge, one. And then also, I don't want to go in with this expectation of me, and then I don't meet it. Meaning, like, you know, they told out flat out, like, we want someone to post. Let's just say, for instance, in this role, you're going to post 3 times a day. I know what I need to do then, so I'm going to go in and do my job. And then I know what standard to live up to, or for me, what standard to exceed, because your boy like to stunt. But I at least have concrete, tangible goals based on my conversations. And it's easier for me to go in with some knowledge than go in blind, because that I'll be honest, that makes me very anxious if I too much. I know that life has ambiguity. Try to use a big word, and I know I'm flexible, but for me, it gives me a lot of comfort to know, like, I need to do X, Y, and Z, and this is how I do X, Y, and Z, and I learned that from talking to other people. Exactly,
and I think even for introverts, you can learn a lot from just going up and sitting next to people. So there are a lot of times when I would go to conferences, just by actually talking to the people around me and having more meaningful conversations, I'd get those pieces of advice that I've been able to pass along that I've learned from the committees. So And it does really begin to reverberate because, when I'm, on a board and I'm hearing about, Philip, or I'm hearing about another person all on the team that I'm a part of, that brings, even more success to our team.
Yeah. And let's talk about that too, because we're trying to stunt. So, but there's levels, and then we say there's levels to this, right? And I think most organizations, even the organization that I'm a part of, Alpha, has levels. There's a chapter level, then there's a state level, then there's a regional level, and then there's a national level. And I think as you go higher up, it gets bigger and bigger, and a lot more responsibility, a lot more reach. And Sam was the top. We were going back to Sam. Sam was the top of, and we're going to stick within career development. But for us, I think it's like state level for us is base. Regional level for all the East. There's Eastern ACE, and then there's like SO ACE and all these different. Is there a West ACE? West Side? West Side ACE?
There's a Midwest ACE.
They call them West. Why do we say SO ACE?
SO ACE is Southern ACE.
Why don't you just call them Southern ACE or whatever you call it? But point is, there's different levels.
Yeah.
West Side ACE. I want to be someone for the West Side ACE, and the Nellyville and ACE. That's the Midwest one, and then I don't know, Southern ACE. But there's levels, and then there's the national. That's NACE. I don't know. I was trying to say what, do you feel like you have to level up, and it's a really good idea to start at the small level, start at the Virginia level, for instance. You think that was helpful? Because you said that was your first convention and probably your first committee roles in the Virginia level, right?
Yes.
So did you feel like that's a good way to start, to ease yourself into this professional development thing? Start at the local level and really get your hands in the ground in that community.
I think it would be a good idea to start sort of practically. So if you are going to a regional conference and you see an opportunity to get engaged, then start there.
Okay.
It just happened to be that VACE was in April, and that was my first first big conference that I'd gone to.
But how about the scope of it? Do you feel like, and I'll be honest, I like both ACE, VACE, NACE, all them. I love it. I mean, whatever. I don't know. I'm getting them all, man. I like West Side ACE and all that. But I would like to say, I like more intimacy, and I do like the fact that there is a state level, because you see the people more consistently. That's the type of person I am. I know I'm an extrovert. I know I love meeting lots of new people. But for me, I think what a lot of people don't know, when they see Woo, like winning people over, they think that I like to have superficial, high and by relationships. But I'm like the opposite, or not the opposite. I like
the relator.
I don't know what that is, but I like to.
That's me.
I guess yeah. But I like to win people over. I do like initial starting friendships, but I love maintaining relationships too. And I feel like it's easier for me to maintain relationships in a smaller setting. And then, so, for instance, a lot of national stuff is a little overwhelming to even me, And then your national level, too, you might not see these people ever again. I like the fact that if it's on a smaller scale, that I get to see consistently the same, people from the same universities that are in Virginia. I like to start at the local level. Do you kind of feel that same way, or are you just like, yo, let me just get my hands in, it don't matter what level?
I think it's really special to be able to say I probably know more than 80% of the career services professionals in the state, that I've met them at some point.
Yes.
So to me, that's very helpful, and it's something I know I can use in work, and I've been able to. So I had a data project that I had to do, and I had less than a day to get it done, and I had to get feedback from every state school.
Okay, the main public ones.
In a day.
Oh, wow, okay.
So, and it was for our senior administration when I was back at VMI.
Okay.
I was able to get that done because it wasn't because I was emailing everyone. There are some people that I was texting. There's some people that I was calling on their cell phone to ask them if they could give me that information.
Because you had an actual, not just a surface level relationship, you had a more concrete relationship because you saw them a couple times, you knew who they were, and they knew who you were. And you built a real friendship. I like that. So let's talk about, so let's go, we are leveling up, right? You gave us an explanation. We already did that, what the different levels are. What are some things you would consider at each level, and how do you get involved in each level? And we'll start, small a bit, I don't know, Virginia to all the way NACE. How do you get involved in each level?
I think it's going to vary a little bit based on what the structure is of the organization.
Yeah.
You really want to see how do those committees form, when do they form up? Because if something's going to be, 11 months away, you're probably not going to do it.
Right.
So if you can find something that is forming that you can be a part of, you want to consider what your time is, how much time you have for something like this. Because I know that for me, I may hear that you want me to spend 3 hours on something, and that's what the last person did. But then when I get into it, I figure out that it's taking me 9 hours.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
For the same thing. And it's not because I'm slow. It's because for me to do it well, it's going to take me 9 hours. So
it's your work style and it's your work timetable. Yeah, I can see that. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But maybe do you feel like you'll still ask that person that got it done in 3 hours, like why they got theirs faster?
Oh, definitely. If I can check back, then I'll find out why. Typically, I've had a tendency to accept additional responsibilities.
Hey, art of saying no. Shout out to the book that we had to read at work. We're both recovering yesers.
Essentialism for the win.
Yeah, this is my name is Philip Wilkerson, and what's it? Yes, Anonymous, and I have a problem saying no to things and adding stuff on my plate. I'm still recovering.
Me too.
I have a 1-day chip. You know what I'm saying? Like, you get a chip for Alcoholics Anonymous. You get the certain chips. I'm only 1 day in of saying no to something. I check back in at the end of 6 months to see if I get my 6-month coin for saying no. But yeah, so you definitely add more to your plate, and then you also, like as you said, like this is extracurricular, but it's a weird extracurricular. I like to say, like, for now I'm learning that it is taking time away from X, Y, and Z, but it's like on your resume, X, Y, and Z. So, like, it's serious, kind of. I mean, not kind of, it is. So it's not like, hey, I'm just volunteering at a soup kitchen. I show up when I can and hand out some soup. It's like, yo, this is like, runs a machine or organization. If I don't do my part of this volunteerism, if I don't do my part, it's going to not be good. Yeah. And it's not going to be good for, like, if I don't show up to the soup kitchen, people going to still get their soup. But if I was a social media person and I don't post, then no one posts it.
Exactly.
Like,
then
so, like,
the message isn't getting out.
Yeah, so it seems like you have more of an essential role, and so you have to make sure that your time is committed to it appropriately.
Well, and you bring up a really good point, because not all of the positions are essential. So there can be positions where maybe you have one part in a bigger program.
Yep.
So in those programs, in those cases, many times people will pick up the slack for you. If the work's got to get done, so if it's a conference, and one part isn't, getting done, then it's up to the leader of that committee then to make the decision on how to get things moving. Yeah,
it's crazy, and I bet that's even kind of difficult too, because as we said earlier, that we're all joining this team, but we're all in different locations. So when I say time is the essence, but it's like also like we had to collaborate. With conflicting schedules, and distance, right? So what are some obstacles that you've had to overcome with that, with being a part of professional organizations with those two factors of distance and conflicting schedules?
Well, certainly that distance is going to be a key factor. To where you can't just walk over to someone's office and say,
which
hey,
I do. I love that. I love walking, but you can't do that. So,
and if you're having a phone call, there's only so much you can do in a phone call. So a lot of the committees that I've been on, we've used video, and that helps because it's very easy to multitask
Yep.
and not be in the moment. But if you're on video and people can see that you're not
Paying attention.
paying attention,
Yeah.
then you may not get called out on the call, but you might get called out afterward.
Oh, snap.
For
Shade. Might get you. You might get them side texts. You might get the side text. Put your phone down, which happens to me all the time in my life with my wife. Oh, that rhymed.
For my life and my wife.
Yes. Bars. See, that's about to be my new. I'm about to do
Doing
that.
big things.
I'm about doing big things. I'm actually going to loop that into the intro of this episode. I see you doing big things. Okay. So, why would someone even, as you said, we're learning to say no, but why would anyone even want to do this? What are some reasons why would someone want to consider volunteering for any of these levels? State AIDS face, whatever. Nelly Ace and West Side Ace.
Cardi Ace.
Cardi Ace. I love it. Yeah, but why would someone do that? What would be some ways to tell people why? Why would they want to do this?
So people's reasons are going to differ, but for me, my first reason was just to get to know people. I didn't know anyone in Virginia.
Okay.
Didn't know anyone in career services. So it was a really easy way then to connect with just about everyone. Everyone wanted, something posted on social media.
Yeah.
So I kind of got to figure out, what are the larger schools in Virginia? I didn't even know that when I started.
Yeah.
So it really helped me to get to know who was around me, get to know the employers as well.
Right. Okay. So it helps you know what's going on. What's some other reasons why?
Well, it's definitely going to be a resume builder.
Yep.
To have that organization on there, have that position. I like to think that you want to have some substance behind it, have the results. So be thinking about if you were to accept the position, what would you want to write about yourself on your resume after that position's over?
Actual tangible, like maybe increase of members or something like that, or
exactly.
So what are the tangibles? So you have to keep track of it. How did you keep track of the tangibles then? Like you just can't. Did you have like a little Google form where you just type in a little bit of like accomplishments? How did you keep track of what you did?
I would, especially in my first few years in career services, I would send myself an email.
Yep.
Basically at the end of each week.
Okay.
And then I started tracking on my calendar, and I color coded, if something was with some kind of leadership position, made sure to track that as well.
Bet.
With regard to, say, like volunteering too, if I was saving money, if I was making the association money, if I was doing that for a nonprofit that we worked with, that was information I made sure to keep track of.
Yeah, I've done. See, because of you, but because of everyone, I think that's a good technique. I know I need to try the email to myself. What I've done now is I started just a random freestyle Google form, and if I have something I was like, yo, I want to stunt, I'll make sure I add that, and then I think I want to go back now and revise that Google form and try to think of some numbers, because right now it's just like titles, like not titles, but like career service event, and I just put the event. I didn't put no numbers or how many people attended or something like that. So maybe add some depth to it. So that, as you say earlier, I think a lot of people struggle when they have to redo their resume. They have to figure out what they did in their old jobs, and they have to recollect it in their mind. And you're like, I wish I could have wrote that down because I literally forgot what I did last week. What I didn't get fired. That was an accomplishment. So no, that's not. What did you And we talk about. It's so interesting that we practice what we preach. I feel like it's so much easier to tell student X, Y, and Z. Do this, network, do this. When you go to your clubs and organizations on campus, get leadership roles. Make sure that you write this down. Make sure you revise your resume. But it's so interesting that, I'm about to say, I've been in career development for since 2000, or higher ed period, since 2012. What year is it? 7 years. 7 years, right? And I feel like I have a lot of empathy for the students because I'm doing all this stuff. I should have practiced what I preached all along. Seek out leadership positions. I didn't ever do this. No. Make sure that you know when you do your resume, what are your actual bullet points? like I had to now cognitively think, okay, what am I doing at each either job, or what am I doing in these committees that I should, as you said, make sure that's noted. Well, the networking one, I didn't think that was a thing I needed to work on. First of all, I didn't know. I didn't even know I was networking. I was just talking to people, and then someone was like, "Oh, you're good at networking." I was like, "What?" I'm just asking you questions. I didn't know networking was really a thing until I went to career development. Career. I was like, they're like, "Phil, you're so good at networking." I was like, "What? I just talk a lot, and I'm loud." Like, so, but obviously that's now where I take it seriously too. Like I don't do the square thing or whatever, which I think is a great technique, but I just make sure that, like, if I'm gonna go somewhere, I like to think of it as like, and this is just me, I like to say I'm gonna leave this event with new friends, and then I actively go and try to meet new people.
That's a great way to look at it. Is,
but now
I want to leave with people and not just business cards. You're not leaving with business cards. You might be leaving with some business cards, but you're also leaving with some people that you can reach back out to.
100%. And what I do for the business cards, so I know it's not just here's your business, or here's my business card, because I think that people just, business cards stupid. They just throw them away. I like to write notes on the back and say, why did I talk to that person at that interaction? And then I email them when I get home. And but I try to say something like more like, X, Y, and Z. It was so nice talking to you. Hope you enjoy the beach. Like I don't even say anything about the work. Like I literally say random stuff like, I hope you like the Redskins. They trash. Like, I try to find out something that's not career related and write that on the back of the business card. I don't know. That's just me. I'm weird.
You're not weird.
And then also if I meet people.
You're talented at this networking thing.
No,
Some of us have to build a geometric shape.
A square. I mean, you know how random I am. If I get someone's name for the first time, I send them or email. I send them a random Google sheet, a Google form. Literally, they think it's like a serious assessment, and it's literally asking them what popcorn they like or something. Like just random thoughts I want to know. Because when I think about these relationships that I'm building, especially, I think this is what I wanted to tie in why to join a volunteer thing. I like building relationships because I like to meet new people, and I think we're way more than our careers. Like I personally like these associations to see people outside of their work enviament.
Oh yeah, that's something.
That's what I like. That's what I like. That's what I like the most about this association. I like the hospitality suite. But I just like to see people that, like, while we could do the work of career services, like I like that people bring their other self to conferences. Meaning they bring, like, we don't just talk about job. They talk about, like, hey man, I love this area, or I don't know. I feel like associations gets you a chance to meet people outside of the suit.
Oh, I definitely agree. I know our colleagues with Eastern ACE, so the Eastern Association of Colleges and Employers.
East Coast.
Yeah.
East Coast ACE.
Technology Committee. Shout out to the Eastern ACE Technology Committee.
Yeah. Shout out to them. ACE Cats.
Yeah.
Easter ACE Cat.
So
whatever.
We started that as just kind of like a joke of what should we post about? Well, cat memes.
Yeah, I love cat memes.
So we just did it, and it wasn't sanctioned by the association, but it wasn't disallowed. So we just kept doing it, and it just has been a thing. So we'll randomly tweet out a GIF with Eastern Ace cats, and
and I think that that's a great community. I didn't know. I mean, quite honestly, I thought it wasn't so stuffy. I think that's what made me think that professional. I think that a lot of people also, and I think I want to add that as a tip, is like, don't think that this is also, because it's a volunteer thing or it's a professional organization, that you have to be all serious. Like, half of this stuff is not that serious, It's like we just want to make sure, one, the serious part is that we get better at our jobs and we learn. That's serious. But at the end of the day, too, we just want to be people and meet new people and have fun as well. So, like, joining these committees and doing all this stuff, there's the work. Like, obviously, people don't understand, like, I do what I'm supposed to do. Like, I mean, I may not outwardly be serious looking or act serious, but I do work. But I also don't want to not be bored or make work not fun.
Yeah.
Because work should be, ideally, when you're aligned with your passions. I have fun doing this stuff. I have fun working in higher ed. But, that's just me.
And it's great to have those people that are outside of your organization who, you know, when I started at our current institution, so a few of the committee members on the technology committee reached out to you, Phil, to get the address, and they sent me flowers.
That's very nice.
The first week that I was at our institution, and it was just really, really heartwarming to me that they recognized that I just got on this journey in the middle of the school year to get to, you know, a new city, new place, very different from VMI.
Yes.
And, you know, I also got a plaque that was really cute that our committee, our board liaison, Amy Smith, she sent me that had, you know, it was the Frolic Award. So Lauren Kramer, my co-chair, she has this this word she made up. It's called Frolic. So it's a combination of friend and colleague.
Oh, Frolic. Shout out to y'all. Frolics.
So shout out to all of our Frolics.
Frolics.
And that's really what I got from Eastern Ace is that, you know, that the spirit of Eastern Ace, I think, is the Frolic.
Yes.
Is that you can have the friend, but you also have the colleague. So if you have a question, we work hard, but we also maintain our friendships.
And I think that like a lot of people, quite honestly, I don't think I would work in a cutthroat corporate America's lifestyle. I mean, one is my heart, I'm too soft, and two is like I'm soft, so, you know, I cry like at the Marley and Me. What's that book, the movie Marley and Me? I was crying like a baby. That jump made me so sad. But point is, I don't want to, like, honestly, when I say I bring my full self and, you know, have career goals and want to climb the ladder and all that extra or whatever, I don't want to lose myself in being a nice person. And I also don't think that for us to succeed, someone's got to lose. Mm-hmm. So I love the idea of colleagues or frolics because I do feel like when I go out to do work or real work, even professional work, I'm also making friends. Now that sounds like, okay, not everyone can be your friend, Philip, blah, 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 you know, whatever. But I essentially say, why can't we have a friendship and a work relationship, get real work done, but also enjoy being around each other and actually, you know, when we have tough times or we're, you know, we want, you know, we have new jobs, they celebrate our successes, you know, doing big things. I think that there shouldn't be this like definite line between professionalism and clear-cut professionalism and our personal friendships. So I have a really bad boundary line. Like I want to be friends and colleagues with a lot of people. So I don't know. I think that's great. I think that's where also I think that's why I think I've found my niche in this professional development world is because I think I'm finding out that there's other people like me that also want to do the work and get work done, but also looking for good relationships and real friendships.
I want to know that you're human, not that you're just some droid who's, you know, hopefully you're not a droid meeting with students.
Spam bot, that you're not Skynet, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
True.
So Phil is not Skynet.
No, I'm not a spam bot from Russia. If I ever ask you for your credit card number and social security number, then that's not me. But if I'm sending you a random Google form to ask you if you like nachos,
or
that's
a video file or WAV file.
Well, if it's a WAV file or video file, and then you open it, it's me freestyling. That's totally normal because I do that. I got a mixtape coming soon. So we're at the part. We actually did really good for this episode. So we're at the part what's called Shot for Shot. Long-time listener, so you know what this means. You get to ask a random question to me. I get to ask a random question to you. You go first.
All right. What do you see yourself doing in 5 years?
All right, I'm not going to do a professional one, so I'm going to do some random things I see myself in 5 years. In 5 years, I definitely want to visit 5 more national baseball, MLB baseball parks. I had this thing on my wall at home where I pin the ballparks that I've been to. Now, mind you, I've been to a lot, but I've never got the pin, so I got to go back. So I want to do that. I want to travel a little bit more. And also, I think in 5 years, Bennett will be 9 and Miles will be, 6. So I feel like
that's going to be great.
So I feel like stadiums. I was about to say I feel like I can take them with me to this project. That's one. I want to travel more nationally.
5 years. Still be married.
Yes.
Shout out to Maggie.
Maggie is
No
the
more,
best.
no more
MVP.
Yeah, no more tattoos or random places on my leg.
Oh my God.
So hopefully there might be one or two more extra places in 5 years maybe. And these non-career goals. I mean, I guess it's not really career. I really want this podcast. I want to interview someone famous in 5 years. Well, you're famous.
No, I'm
You're
not
the Twitter
famous.
queen. No, I meant like I want to interview like J. Cole or something within 5 years.
Yeah, I think J. Cole needs to be on this.
That's my goal. My goal in 5 years is to get J. Cole. And if it doesn't happen, it's gonna be my goal in 10 years. And if it doesn't happen, it's gonna be my goal in 15. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna keep on trying until I interview J. Cole. But I think
J. Cole's gonna have gray hair, but it's gonna happen.
Well, he'll still be rapping. I mean, what's his name? Ice-T or whatever. Them dudes is in their 50s still rapping.
Coolio kind of thing. Yeah.
Coolio's not rapping. Is he still rapping? I mean,
No.
he was on like he was on like
Snoop Dogg though. Snoop
Dogg is still rapping. He's
He's
still going. Dre is still making beats.
I admire that.
Coolio is like on like VH1 shows. He's not doing anything right now. No shade to Coolio.
Or VH1.
Yeah, shade of VH1. Well, VH1 is where you go when you're just chilling. You just want a show, a reality show. Put me on it, like cooking show. Like why you got Coolio cooking? It's crazy.
Cooking with Coolio.
Cooking with Coolio. Yeah. Good gosh. He has some hits though. So yeah, those are some like non-work things I want to do in 5 years. A lot more traveling. Continue to be happily married and tattoo less. No, because I'm not.
Tattoo neutral?
Tattoo neutral, yeah. Maybe one or more, two more, based on budget. All right. So that's my question to you. One, shout out those AKs that you used to live with. And two, can you tell us the biggest difference between Arizona and Virginia, what you've noticed between those two states? Because I think that's quite a remarkable journey to move from Arizona to Virginia. So what are some things you've noticed off the break?
Well, I would say it's a whole lot hotter in Arizona, but the humidity here is awful.
Okay.
It's the worst.
That's it? What about the people?
The people, okay.
Are they friendly there or not? I mean, shout out to Austin. People in Austin are super nice.
People in Austin are nice. I think the people of Tucson.
Yeah, Tucson.
Shout out to Tucson.
Yeah.
People are really nice there. I think you have, you have a different type of diversity.
Okay.
So Tucson is about an hour away from the Mexican border.
Okay.
So you have a lot of really great food, different things that are going on.
Yeah.
But up here in Northern Virginia,
we have like every country in the world.
you have so many different countries.
Yeah.
So the diversity, you don't have as many Hispanic Americans, but you have, but you just have this
Everything.
melting pot of people, ideas.
Now let's be real though. That is not Virginia. That's Northern Virginia. Because if you go to a random part, if we go to Lexington, you will not have this same diversity discussion.
No.
Is that correct? Yes.
That is correct.
Yeah. So, and then what about the pace? Which pace did you enjoy more, Arizona or Virginia?
I think I probably enjoy Tucson's the most because it's kind of like in the middle between Lexington and Northern Virginia. It's not Lexington slow.
Yes.
And it's not Northern Virginia fast.
Oh man, this place is fast, man. This will eat you up. Well, no, not a bad way.
Not in a bad way, but if you want to hustle, you can hustle.
Yes. I think positive filter. You flipped it. I mean, if you want to get something done and meet new people, things are moving. But I think at the same time, I've been to places. This is really fast, and technically, even Northern Virginia, there's a difference between Northern Virginia and DC. You're saying like DC is really fast, and this is so weird to say, y'all. Fellow Wilkerson is a big extrovert. I hate cities.
Really?
No, it's too fast for me. I need to chill.
Okay.
I mean, it's too much stimulation. It's too much. I like to be able to dip in, make a big presence, and then retreat. Yeah, which is interesting to say. Yeah. Or I like to retreat with a small group of people. If I said, Philip, you had a choice between having a crazy, Great Gatsby party where you don't know people in your house, or you have a chance to still meet people but have like a party of 20 of your closest friends, I'd pick the 20 closest friends.
Yeah, that sounds like my speed too.
Yeah, but I would also be the loudest person out of that 20 people.
Yeah, you would.
Yeah.
If I were there, you'd probably would.
But I'd definitely be the loudest person in the 20-person group. So this has been an excellent podcast. This is the part of the show. The floor is yours. What we call it. You still didn't shout out those AKs. Who are they?
Oh, Jazzray, Ashley, and Lexi.
Yeah, we did joke about that, unofficially, Dorothy's first fam, because she lived with 3 AKs randomly. And I was just so impressed. And I was like, that we were definitely already friends. So shout out to the first fam. That was a random shout out I did for you. But the floor is yours. You get to shout out anyone that you want. Friends, family, husband. I was going to make sure you do that because I got in trouble with Pam's didn't shout out their own spouses. I was like, who's your wife again? And saying this is for other people. Mm-hmm. Shout outs to family, friends, whatever, mentors, the people that mentored you, and then any plugs, anything that you want to plug that you want the listeners to follow up on. We'll put those plugs or that resources in the show notes so that they can, jump in. So floor is yours. Shout outs and plugs.
All right. Well, I think I'd like to make sure some people that I didn't mention, there are so many people that I've been able to benefit from their knowledge, their information, their wisdom. Becky Weir from University of Maryland, she's an introvert, but she's also very relational, very easy to talk to, very humble, but has done so many things in her field. Another person, Tony McLaughlin from Roanoke College. Also thinking about some other people too, Peggy Reed at the University of Virginia. She's been someone from my very first VACE conference. She sat down next to me. And she was the one that was like, hey, maybe, if you're interested in this, you should go over to this technology table.
Okay, shout out. So she put you on the path. Excellent.
Yeah, so Peggy, big shout out. My husband, Steven, so he's in IT. He keeps me up to date and running on all my IT
informations. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, now that was some good shout outs. What's some plugs? Where are some things that you want the listeners to be aware of to follow up?
I would say some places to follow up is definitely think about what you're interested in. So start searching some hashtags on Twitter, on LinkedIn. Also, along with that, start to look to see who are those people that you'd like to either be like, or you see them and you see that they're keeping it moving. So I have that acronym too, KIM, keep it moving.
Oh, snap. What's that mean?
KIM? Yeah. So keep it moving. So that just means I'm going to keep it going.
Shoot, I'm about to get
the next person.
But I can't get that tattooed on my leg because it seems like another girl. You know what I'm saying?
No, don't do that. No more tattoos. No more tattoos, unless Maggie says it's okay.
No, I ain't listening to her. I do what I want. Actually, I got no tattoo money, so I can't get no tattoos right now. That's probably what makes Maggie more upset than the actual tattoos, the money you spend on them.
Yeah, those things are expensive.
I want a sleeve, though. Okay, so, and then, obviously we got the different associations for us, particularly we got VACE, ACE, NACE, whatever, and we'll put those in the show notes. We got the ACE Cats, follow that. But like I said, I think you're right. Like this is, in regards to all professional development, these are the associations that we're a part of. But kind of just whatever your world is in, if you're a doctor, look for something that says National Doctors or something. Just Google it and find ways to get involved with that organization for your industry. And make sure maybe you get the magazine that they come in the mail or
exactly
whatever.
And if you don't know what you want to do, that's completely fine. What you want to think about is what are you passionate about. We all come from different backgrounds. So if it's the American Cancer Society, if it is working with a local domestic abuse shelter, follow that passion and volunteer for things there, and you might find where you are most connected, and you might find your industry that way. You may find that, from working at a shelter, that you have an interest in working with nonprofits, or you might find that you do really well with technology, but you don't know unless you take the leap of faith to get the experience.
100%. See? Leap of faith. Kim.
Keep it moving.
Little Kim, the big Kim. All right, well, it's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Obviously, I didn't take no for an answer, and people know that I'm pretty aggressive. I actually scheduled this on her calendar and said we're gonna get this done. But like I said earlier, your influence on me getting involved has been tremendous. I have a lot of ideas, but you really brought it home, how to execute those ideas. And as I said earlier too, just because I'm outgoing, I didn't have a lot of confidence in joining these associations because I didn't know. It's more like I didn't have confidence because there was a lack of information, and a lot of people put committees and doing this stuff on a pedestal, thinking I had to have X, Y, and Z experience. Well, you just jump in and then you'll get the experiences. So I want to say shout out to you, and hopefully, as we said with this podcast or other people in our office, more and more people get involved and they get more confidence, and then we get the work done, or whatever the work is, whether it's the work in your industry or work in your field or work in your communities. That's what it's all about. And you make some fraud leagues and not no frenemies. You know what I'm saying? I was like, frenemies, fraud leagues, you make those people along the way, because that's what this journey is all about. So thank you so much. Dorothy, you're doing big things. I'm not going to sing the song right now because I looped it on the intro, but I really appreciate you being on the podcast.
Thank you so much, Phil.
All right, we out. And we're out. Thank you for listening to Positive Filter, a podcast that focuses on family, friends, career, with a little self-help along the way. If you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with your family and friends, and like the Facebook page, Spreading Positivity of Movement. Thanks for listening.